A spin of barrels, a scream of steel, a wall of lead that can blanket a football field in seconds. This is the story of the M134 Minigun, the six-barrel rotary machine gun the world came to call the Throat of Thunder. To understand this weapon, we have to travel back, not to Vietnam, but a full century earlier. In the 1860s, Dr. Richard Gatling introduced his hand-cranked multi-barrel gun. The concept was simple. Multiple barrels, fired in rotation, allowed higher rates of fire without overheating. It was bulky, but it worked. By the dawn of the 20th century, the hand-cranked Gatling was replaced by faster and lighter automatic weapons like the Maxim gun, and the rotary design fell into history's footnotes. That is, until the jet age brought it back. In the early 1960s, General Electric engineers revisited the Gatling principle with modern technology. They asked, what if you replaced the human crank with an electric motor and scaled it for the 7.62 51mm NATO cartridge? The result was the M134 Minigun, 6 rotating barrels chambered for rifle ammunition, powered by electricity, capable of sustained fire like nothing the world had seen. Where most machine guns rely on gas or recoil to cycle, the minigun uses external power. An electric motor spins the barrels and handles the loading, firing, and extraction sequence. This design meant it wasn't tied to the mechanical limits of springs and gas pistons. It could keep firing as long as ammunition and power were available. The standard rate of fire was adjustable, usually between 2,000 and 6,000 rounds per minute. To put that in perspective, at maximum rate, the gun spits out 100 bullets every single second. The Vietnam War gave the minigun its proving ground. American forces needed new ways to protect helicopters and provide close air support. Early in the conflict, troop-carrying Hueys flew into hot landing zones with only door gunners wielding M60 machine guns. They often couldn't lay down enough fire to keep enemy forces suppressed. The minigun changed that. Mounted in side doors, pods, and penal mounts, it gave the helicopter crew a weapon capable of overwhelming firepower in seconds. The AC-47 gunship, nicknamed Puff the Magic Dragon, carried miniguns mounted in the fuselage, capable of spraying down entire enemy positions. Later AC-130 gunships expanded this idea, with miniguns and heavier cannons working together to devastate targets. For ground troops pinned down, the whirring motor followed by the ripping buzz of the minigun often meant survival. Mechanically, the minigun is a marvel of rhythm. Imagine a conveyor belt of actions. While one barrel fires, another is extracting a spent casing, another is chambering the next round, and another is cooling from its last shot. This constant rotation spreads heat across 6 barrels and keeps the weapon from seizing up. Feeding is handled by linked belts or linkless systems, with a feeder that strips links as the rounds enter the rotating mechanism. It is an orchestra of motion, synchronized to deliver a storm of bullets. Despite the immense firepower, the minigun is surprisingly stable when mounted. Because it is externally powered, recoil impulses are absorbed and smoothed out by the motor's rotation. Mounted on a helicopter or boat, it creates more of a steady push than a violent kick. Still, the weight of the gun, plus its mounting hardware and ammunition supplies, limits it to vehicles, aircraft, and fixed emplacements. This was never a weapon meant to be carried by infantry, though movies often take creative liberties, showing heroes wielding it handheld. As decades passed, variants emerged. General Electric's original design was produced in large numbers, but modern companies refined it further. Dillon Aer developed upgraded versions with improved motors, lighter materials, and better reliability, making the minigun easier to maintain and integrate into modern systems. Garwood Industries introduced the M134G, a variant with design tweaks for contemporary needs. While controversies arose in the civilian market over unauthorized sales, the fact remains, the minigun remains one of the most respected rotary weapons ever built. But power comes with trade-offs. At 3,000 rounds per minute, the minigun chews through ammunition faster than almost any weapon in service. That means logistics and fire discipline matter as much as firepower. A helicopter can only carry so much weight. A Humvee can only hold so many belts. The minigun is devastating for short bursts of suppression and area denial, but commanders must balance its fury with the reality of resupply. Despite these limitations, the minigun has proven its value across decades of conflicts. From the jungles of Vietnam to the mountains of Afghanistan, from Navy boats to special operations vehicles, it continues to provide reliable, overwhelming firepower wherever it is deployed. Beyond the battlefield, the M134 carved out a place in culture. The distinctive whir and ripping growl of its firing sequence became iconic. Hollywood made it larger than life. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Old Painless in Predator, Jesse Ventura laying waste in the jungle, or action heroes spinning its barrels handheld. Video games picked up the legend, making the minigun synonymous with unstoppable firepower. Yet the true legacy is not in movies, but in the tactical reality it created. The minigun reintroduced the rotary design to modern warfare and proved that volume of fire could be engineered to a scale never before seen with rifle-caliber ammunition. It showed that suppression could be achieved not just with accuracy, but with sheer, overwhelming density of bullets. The M134 minigun is more than a gun. It is a bridge across centuries of design, from Gatling's crank-powered contraption to an electric-driven machine of modern war. It is the heartbeat of the gunship, the guardian of helicopter crews, the answer to troops who needed overwhelming support. Its thunderous roar is both terrifying to enemies and comforting to those it protects. From its origins on the drawing boards of General Electric to its place on the side of helicopters and gunships, the minigun has earned its reputation. It may not be the smallest gun by any measure, but for sheer noise, firepower, and psychological impact, it will always be remembered as the Throat of Thunder.